Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, wherever you are. Dorothy, thank you for joining us again.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Welcome. So what we're going to be doing is talking about Crush Your Chaos. Some of you may have seen, I released a guide. It's a free guide. You can download it. I'm going to post a link to it later. And it has 8 executive time management tips that I've implemented over the last 12 plus years. I've helped other people implement it. Some of those come from myself. Some of those come from guys like Steve Jobs, founder of Apple and Pixar. Dave Asprey, the guy who invented bulletproof coffee, which I drink every morning. And also Jerry Seinfeld, famous comedian. Before we kick off, as many of you know, we do these lives every single week, 20 minutes on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, then another 20 minutes on Instagram. And every Wednesday, I interview someone in my network, someone really inspirational and powerful. And we're doing those lives every second week now, so 2 times a month. So Dorothy, over to you. What questions have you got for me?
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I think before we get into the tips themselves and the advice that you prepared, it would be helpful if we could have an example of a time when you've boosted your productivity and achieved results as a result of that boosted productivity.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, in the previous live, you've heard me speak about the times I have boosted my productivity and achieved results and then crashed and burned. That's not what we want. This is about crushing your chaos, eliminating the crash and burn. So an example of where I have used the techniques that I'm going to be referring to later, and you're probably going to ask me about later, has been at my job at Meta, for example. Facebook. The job at HiBob too, but let's talk about Meta. I joined, and Meta is a huge sprawling organization, over 100,000 people when I joined. And the first week, I didn't really have that much to do. I remember the Friday, there was nothing to do. I was just like lying in bed waiting for someone to message me or call me. I was available on my laptop. And my manager, a really great woman, Yaron, based in the UK, based in London, she said to me, we're going to treat this like you have your own business, Alex. He said, we're going to give you all the clients. And there was a lot of work to be done. 3 projects at a time. I was project managing one of them. The other 2 I was developing different trainings for, sales trainings, such as the onboarding training, which I called Morph. That was a cool name because it was for engineers. So Morph, short for metamorphosis. I thought I'd get the other one called Engage, because it was all about how to engage people. And this Engage program, for instance, had 5 different skills modules, up-leveling people's skills. And normally I would be like so hectic going, this time I did something different. I went out for very long walks, sometimes 2.5, 3 hours in the forest. Maybe I listened to an audiobook about sales, like what I wanted to teach people about, or some music. And it was in these long walks I actually got most of my work done. I produced incredible trainings. Those aren't my words, those are the words of the people who I trained. Got amazing feedback. Over 624 people I trained. I trained some other trainers as well. They had plans to turn it into an e-learning, the entire Engage program. I'm not sure if they ever did that because of the subsequent layoffs at Meta after I left. However, this was a really amazing experience. And I had complete support from my manager, Yaron, a director. She's now working at a different company as a sales enablement director. On going out for walks, I would be open and honest and transparent with her. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going for a walk for free. I should be like, yeah, go for it. Some of the best ideas I came up with in the most relaxed state. So later, after the Facebook job, when I worked at HiBob, I did a value-based storytelling training. Taking the things like the Pixar model of storytelling and how salespeople can implement that. And Pixar have what's called the 6-sentence structure. I won't go into it now. I came up with what's called the 6-sentence sales structure for Bob. And I came up with that in a dream. I literally dreamed it up, and I could have only done this if I was in a relaxed state of mind, not stressing or fretting. It came to me in a dream. I wrote it down on my phone or on a notepad, went back to bed again, looked at what I wrote down. I was like, this is pretty good. So I implemented it in training, trained over 100 salespeople on it in New York, Tel Aviv, Amsterdam, Berlin, a lot of people in London, over 80 in London. And those salespeople have gone on to do amazing things, close really good deals.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Alex. That you've sort of covered my next question for you, which was just out of interest, the goals that you've reached in the shortest time. And I'm guessing that would probably fall into the answer category for that question.
The goals that I've achieved in the shortest time. You mean at work? Is that right?
In your personal life, personal achievement or a work achievement that you've gone for?
Yeah, there's a lot of goals. I'm a very goal-oriented and driven person, always have been. Whether at school, like getting top marks at A levels, university, first class honors, goals in relationships as well. Things like I'm going to move to. Other things, for example, with my current relationship now, the goal to eventually get married, which could only be precipitated by getting down on one knee and proposing. And fortunately, she said yes in a really beautiful location. And then the goal now to move to Peru, which I'm doing this month. I'm going to be flying out in October, and then we'll be living together. And then there's other goals, like starting a family, buying a dog and a turtle, a giant tortoise. However, in terms of like achieving goals in a short amount of time, I'm a firm believer that it's not up to you. It's not in your timing. The timing of a goal, and here's the thing, it's great to set smart goals, the time-bound aspect of it, to say here's a deadline for it. But at the end of the day, it's not up to you, particularly those things like, when's the next sale coming through? Or try and land a job, getting a job into you. And I've done that before. I have really said to myself, I want to get a job by a certain date. And most of the time, I've actually have achieved that. But that wasn't because of me, necessarily. It wasn't up to me when it would come through. I'm not going to get all mystical and say, things like, it's God's timing or any of this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what you believe in that respect. But there is an external force greater than ourselves at play here. And certain goals, it's not really up to us when they're going to happen. It's not even up to us how they're going to happen. It's up to us, you, me, everyone watching this. And thank you for the over half dozen people. We now have 10 people watching this here. Although feel free to write a comment if you want to hear more. It's up to you, the actions you can take. So it's what is in your control. Focus on that which is within your control. Timing is not up to you.
Yeah, because in your guide, you said that one of the most frequently asked questions you receive is, how can I reach my goals in a short time? And I guess what I was thinking and what you've kind of confirmed is that that's probably not the healthiest way to look at your goals. That how can I reach this in the shortest time? Achieving something in a really, really short, rapid time is likely to mean, A, that it's not actually that difficult to achieve. So maybe it's not something that you're going to get a lot of gratification from because it's just an immediate thing. And also perhaps it kind of diminishes the value of the process of actually striving for something, which has innate value in itself. So you've obviously shared and provided us with lots of tips as to how we can crush our chaos. I don't know whether you want to go through all of those right now, but I thought I would ask you, which tip do you think is the best, or if there are a couple of tips that you kind of prize as the best tips when someone's looking to increase their productivity, your favorites, I suppose.
Oh yeah, the favorite tips. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of them now, because if you want, you can just download the guide. I'll put a link up at the end. You can find the link in the comments, timemanagement.adjelevate.com, or download it in anywhere that you can find me. It's usually prominently featured. Before I answer my favorite tips, what I am going to say is what you were talking about, the shortest time. And what you said, Dorothy, completely 100% right. If you get something quickly, you're not going to value it. Same thing, like if you give out something for free, if you get something for free, you're not going to value it as much as if you had to pay any amount of money for it. It doesn't have to be £10 or €10 or $10. It could be 100 or £1,000 or dollars or euros. You're not going to value it as much if you get something quickly, for free, all these kind of things that we think we want. And an example of that, before I talk about the top of my favorite tip, is recently I started that about 7 weeks ago or so. My friend from Highball Gurpow, we joined on the same day. He recommended, he said he's on the smoothie diet, vegetable smoothie diet. I was like, cool, I want to do the same thing. And I did it, and I wasn't weighing myself the entire time. I knew I wanted to lose a certain amount of weight. I wanted to lose 15 kilos of fat and gain 5 kilos of muscle before my wedding in 2025, which is like 2 years away. And on the diet, I'd say, just for fun, I'd step on the scales, and I found I lost 10 kilos in 6 weeks. That's way too much, way too fast for me. So I have to change that diet, but I didn't expect to. It wasn't in my time, and I wasn't even paying attention to the scale. Same thing, like getting the quick sale or the quick whatever. sales, for example, I'm selling every single day, on the phone, sending out messages, etc., etc., etc. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah, that's a bit overused, but it's true. I'm not here to make a quick buck. This is a long-term thing. And as anyone knows who's in a business or has any cyclical sales cycles, you can go weeks or even months without getting a sale whilst doing all the actions. And all of a sudden, it's like 3 buses coming along. You know what I mean? Now, for what you said about the top tip, and it's really, one thing is that it's personal, but I think of all of them, if there's one thing you can do, anyone watching this, is really get accountable. And yeah, I'm gonna talk a lot about that now. I'm even gonna leave a comment for anyone watching it. I hope the comments go through on LinkedIn. I don't know if they can, but get accountable with someone else. And if you want to do that, join our Slack community. Yeah. Now, what I've done for the past, it's been since 2019. No, not 2019. So November 2020. So what is that? About 3 years ago. I met a guy called David. We are in the same group. He's an American guy, lives in Spain and Vigo, practices body work, and now he teaches English at university as well as doing body work every day, Monday to Friday. And I think we may have missed a handful of days, like 5 days over the last 3 years. We have a 10-minute phone call in the morning, 10-minute phone call in the evening. In the morning, we each get 3 minutes to say, here's what we're going to do, list it out, and then get 2 minutes of feedback from the other person. Switch roles, and the other person goes ahead. Then we send the list to each other on WhatsApp. My list includes some other things in the guide. I talk about the one thing, so I always start off with the one thing, and then I could crack on with the day, doing the other things in the focus cave. Now, what we do in the evening is then we have another check-in call and say, here's what I did, here's what I didn't do. Pretty much all the time, we both have done the things that we need to get done. The things that we probably don't want to do or are procrastinating on, that goes by the wayside. So if you want to get accountable with someone else, then you can join the Chaos Crushers Slack group. And if you do want to join it, then just like the comment that you're probably going to see at the bottom of this video. Yeah, write me personally. You can find my email address quite easily, alex@adjelevate.com. Really get accountable with someone else.
Great. And that's the accountability principle that you talk about in the Crush Your Chaos guide, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Sure.
So could you just talk us through is it Pareto power? Because I like the sound of that, and I think it sounds really interesting. And I wonder if you could give us an example of what that would actually look like in practice, just because reading it, I kind of found it hard to imagine how that would apply to real life. So if you could just explain the principle and then how it's applied.
Yeah, Pareto power. I take Pareto power exponentially. Pareto power cubed. For those of you who've never heard of it before, it comes from this. He's an Italian social economist. Some people call him economic sociologist. Doesn't really matter. His name was Wilfredo Pareto. And what he discovered is that of the landowners in Italy, this was in the late 1800s or early 1900s, 80% of the land was owned by 20% of the landowners. So 20% of the landowners owned 80% of the land. He found this quite interesting, and then he found the same rule applies for other things. 20% of this causes 80% of that. Like 20% of the work you do causes 80% of the results. And for like over 60 or 70 years in the personal development and success literature, people talk about this, and also business literature. 20% of what you do will give you 80% of the results, and it's been proven again and again and again. That's quite interesting in itself, and you can get a lot from that. What I do, which is different than what other people do, is I take that 80-20 rule, or Pareto principle, and apply it exponentially. So 20% of 20% is 4%. Anyone who has a calculator, by the way, feel free to get a calculator and check this with me. Now, 20% of 20% is 4%. 80% of 80% is around 61.2%. So anyone with a calculator can follow through. That means that 4% of what you do will give you 61.2% of the results, which is great. Work on that 4%. Do that again. 20% of the 4%, so 20% times 20% times 20%, in other words, 20% cubed, is 1%. Or thereabouts. It's actually 0.8%, but let's round up to 1. That will give you 80% times 80% times 80%, 51.2%, which means 1% of the things that you are planning on doing, want to do, will give you over 50%, the majority of your results, no matter what it is you're doing. And you have to believe me, you can just experiment for yourself. Say you have a list of 100 things to do, apply it, get down to the 20%, then get down to the next 20%, which is 4 things, and then just take the one most important thing of that list, guarantee that's going to get you the most results. So with some of the executives and business owners I speak to, that could be financing, funding, investment, HR, delegation kind of stuff. If they get an investment like a Series E funding at a startup, gives them $150 million, that will allow them to do much more things with their product than they could have done before.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sorry to interrupt. It's just an invitation for the people watching this to apply it to themselves. And for the dozen or so people watching us, feel free to leave a comment. Dorothy, go over to you. Sorry for interrupting you. I'm much like my father in that respect.
No worries at all. Yeah, thank you, Alex. That makes a lot of sense, and it's good to hear a worked example. Another question I have from looking at your guide is, what is the Seinfeld strategy? Could you just talk us through that one quickly as well?
Yeah, so anyone who's like a fan of the Jerry Seinfeld show, TV sitcom or stand-up comedy, a great guy, New York City comedian. And if anyone is a fan of him, you can just write in the comments as well. But he famously or infamously suffered from writer's block, which is very common for comedians and writers. Dorothy, you're an author. Have you ever suffered from writer's block yourself?
I haven't actually, no.
Oh, maybe you don't need this tip. Fair enough then. It's quite good. I've had writer's block myself. It was actually until I came to you and asked you to help me with the book. Yeah, I struggled. You know what I mean? Yeah. However, Jerry Seinfeld suffered from writer's block. Some people do. And what Jerry Seinfeld did was he had this huge wall calendar, like really big wall calendar of the year. And he would mark an X like this, literally an X on the day whenever he spent at least, I think it was 4 hours a day he spent writing jokes. That's his job. He's a comedian. I mean, he did that, and eventually he just kept doing the X. He did it every single day. Not sure if he ever skipped a day, like the holidays or anything like that, or the weekends. Perhaps he did, perhaps he didn't. However, he eventually got over 10,000 X's on the wall. That's 10,000 X's of writing jokes times by 4 hours, 40,000 hours. And there's this 10,000 hour rule by Malcolm Gladwell. But the point is consistency. If you use that X, and you can use it for whatever it is, the writer's block in the writing. You can use it for certain sales activities, picking up the phone and cold calling. I've had my friends use it for quitting smoking. They will put a star on the wall or an X every single day they've gone without a cigarette. It's about the consistency behind it and the visual reminder that you are doing it and you're on track. So you're no longer discouraged. You may wake up and have a day, I don't feel like writing. And you'd be like, do I really want to miss a day now that I have like 100 X's or 100 stars or 100 whatever it is on the wall? That's just one tip, the Seinfeld strategy, so to speak. Dorothy, is there anything else you want to mention?
Oh, it's just interesting. I suppose it's sort of like you're holding yourself accountable by having that visual reminder of what you're trying to achieve every day.
Yeah.
Do we have time for one last question?
Yeah, we've got time.
So I suppose for someone that's looking at the guide and considering all of these different tips, because there are quite a few of them, it might be a bit overwhelming because there are so many. Do you kind of envisage these as sort of people pick the ones that feel the most pertinent or helpful for them, or would you recommend someone trying them all and then seeing which work and which don't? How would you kind of advise someone to approach this as a tool that can help them?
Yeah, there's no point, trying all of them if it isn't going to work for you. If it ain't going to work for you, trying all of them at once is a great way to drive yourself insane and create more chaos in your life. Why bother doing that? Instead, pick one, just one tip, just whatever one floats your boat the most, and give it a go for a week. Focus only on that one. And then continue from there. When you build up sufficient power and muscle and you've seen it working in your life, then try a different one and stack them. What you can also do is join the Slack group. that I was mentioning. If you want to join the Slack group, then just like reach out to me personally, or when you download the guide at the very bottom, at the very end, and there's a link to the Slack group in there. So you can join that and say, hey, I've been trying this tip from the guy. Or in fact, I've tried another tip that wasn't even in the guide. I'd love to hear more, you know what I mean? We love to help each other out. This is what we're doing. You know what I mean? We're all helping each other out. So, get accountable to someone else, like download the guide, post about it in the Slack group, and, help yourself, help other people as well. So, you can just join the Chaos Crossers Slack group. And if you want to do that, then just download the guide. Links be on the screen for quite a while now. I'm not going to show that anymore. So is there anything else, Dorothy?
That's all from me, actually. Yeah, we've covered everything I wanted to ask.
Cool. Yeah, so I just want to thank everyone for watching this. Yeah, had over a dozen people on there. Not sure how many people watching on LinkedIn. I can only tell afterwards on LinkedIn, but on the Facebook and the YouTube. Great that we can see everyone here. I just want to wish you all a really amazing day, an amazing week ahead. If there's any chaos in your life, know that you don't have to suffer alone. Just reach out to myself and Dorothy. See you momentarily on Insta.
See you on Insta.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.